Malaysia is a multicultural country where different religions, languages, and cultures coexist. Malay culture is dominated by Islam and Malay education, which produces the centripetal force and cohesion of the nation. In Malaysia, marriage is mainly influenced by Islamic culture, mainly manifested in the form of marriage established in the form of Islam. Some of them are through marisk, and Maminam, and Malaysia has rich culture and customs, especially in marriage. For example, a wedding is when men and women exchange gifts, such as clothes, jewelry, or food, on their wedding day in terms of betrothal gifts and dowry. Malay marriages have also inherited in the fine virtue of marriage in Islamic culture, which is to give each other an appropriate amount according to the ability of the parties, without making it an economic burden on the newlyweds. Islam is simple and easy, but believers make it complicated. In addition, traditional Malay marriages often start with blind dates. The man would go to the woman's house with gifts, parents, and matchmaker. The date of marriage can be further determined by mutual consultation. Weddings rarely take place a year later. Malays take weddings very seriously. Before the wedding, the bride's nails, palms, and soles are painted with bright red henna juice, which is a symbol of happiness. During the ceremony, the bride and groom, dressed in the ornate traditional costumes, sit in a hall decorated with white, which symbolize purity, while guests take turns sprinkling green or flower water on the couple as a blessing. These are some of the forms of traditional Malay marriage. Okay, now please let my panelists continue to elaborate on them.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nuril Hamizun bin Malik, metric number 1913323. So I will present about process of Malay marriage, which are merisik and meminang. As for my marriage is a life process that everyone, male or female, regardless their rank or status, must go through. So merisik is the traditional first step in the Malay marriage process. It is the initial stage of meeting young men and women in Malay culture, which involve a meeting between representatives of both sides. The goal of this practice or the purpose is to ensure that a man's preferred girl is still unmarried. This is important as in Islam, it is forbidden to propose someone fiancé. Other than that, through merisik, a man will learn about the girl's background. Merisik process is carried out in an orderly and polite manner in order to preserve both sides' good names. So some criteria that are always a concern in this process include appearance, manners, educational level, and so on. Many parental tips have already been offered by the elderly to be useful in merisik. One of it is shower. If the representative arrives at the girl house while she is about to take a shower or take water from river, this girl is considered as a good sign for making her a wife. The water represent harmony, and these girls are ideal candidates for wife, whereas their marriage will be peaceful until the end. Other than that, sweeping the floor or cooking. If the representative arrives while the girl is sweeping the floor or cooking, it indicates that the girls rejected the luck. Fire resembles disharmony and it will cause the marriage rather than marriage tranquilly to continue fighting and eventually divorce. As such, the days to merisik, which are Monday, Thursday, and Friday, are very important because they can make the process of getting married easier, according to the elderly. So, merisik in past and current society. In today's society or in this modern society, merisik considered outdated because in the past, it happened just because contact between men and women is very hard at that time. However, men and women nowadays meet every day at a workplace, shopping complex, or even in the university. So they will get to know each other through these mediums. Following the completion of merisik process, the courtship or meminang custom is carried out. The proposal considered as starting point in the Malay marriage process, and it is a commitment between the man and woman to marry on the date agreed upon by both parties. So in Islamic perspective, meminang means expressing a desire to marry a specific woman and informing the woman or her guardian of this intention. Women may be married for 4 things: wealth, beauty, lineage, or religious commitment. It's narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. So from this hadith, it can be seen indeed that the Malays are closely related to Islam. To prove this is that the Malays has been used this hadith as one of their guidance in the process of courtship. To explain further, the future wife wealth, lineage, and beauty had to be aligned with her religion. The first criterion during the proposal is priority to the good of his or her religion, meaning the male or female religion. This can be determined by the male or female faith and how he or she practice Islam. It includes how he or she handles prayers and morals.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hakimi bin Mahdi and my matric number is 1919445. Today I will talk about process of Malay marriage, which is Hantaran and dowry. Hantaran. In Malay culture, the Hantaran is gift from the groom to the bride and vice versa. Usually, the amount of Hantaran is in odd number because they believe it will give blessing, and if it is even number, it will bring difficulty. There's two different forms of Hantaran, which is money Hantaran and item Hantaran. There also a tradition of doing Hantaran of gift of money to his bride family. The amount will have been agreed upon during the adat bertunang. In Islam, Hantaran is not prohibited. It's already become the custom of Malay society from generation to generation and accepted by society. Basically, we do not encourage to be excessive in Hantaran because it will affect the economy of the marriage in the future. Meanwhile, dowry is a gift from male to female as a sign of respect for the marriage and part of the Hantaran. Every state has different amount of dowry, and Islam do not give specific amount to make the process of marriage easier. Dowry is mandatory in Islam by mentioned in the Surah An-Nisa, verse 4. Basically, dowry and duit hantaran is different because duit hantaran is allowed but not mandatory in Islam, but dowry is mandatory. And dowry has specific amount, which is most of the state below 100 ringgit, and only Selangor you need to pay RM 300 ringgit for the dowry. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening to everyone and to Datuk. My name is Fazlan Arif, metric number 1915997. So today I will be presenting on my part of finding, which is the literature review for the process of the Malay marriage. So there will be three processes for my part, which the first one is solemnization, which is akad nikah. Second one is the berinai ceremonies, and the last one is bersanding. So let's go to the first process, which is solemnization or akad nikah. So traditionally it takes place the day before walimah and bersanding. It is an intimate affair which is attended by close family members and friends. So the solemnization ceremony is held at the bride's residence or at the reception venue. So a religious official, which is known as the Tok Kadi, he officiates and oversees the proceedings and also issues the marriage certificates. So in the past, the bride will wait in the separate room and only to emerge to sign the marriage certificate. And now the Qadi will ask for the bride's consent to marriage before proceeding with the solemnization ceremony. And during the ceremony, the Qadi will write verses from the Quran and speaks to the group about his duties and responsibilities to his wife. And after that, the Qadi will solemnize the marriage by making a certain pronouncement, and the groom is then required to make the relevant declaration correctly and clearly to all the present family members, to close friends. And after this declaration, the bride and the groom will sign the marriage contract. So next, I will continue on the second process, which is the berinai ceremony. So the berinai tradition, in which the bride's and groom's finger and nails are stained with henna, and it is commonly held after the akad nikah. So traditionally, there are three berinai ceremony. The first one is berinai curi, second one is the berinai kecil, and the third one is the berinai besar. So the berinai curi and berinai kecil ceremonies will take place before the solemnization, and berinai curi was organized for the bride, and it involved the female relatives and close female friends. So during this ceremony, the bridal party will perform the tepung tawar for the bride before applying henna on her hands and feet. So this is traditionally held without the knowledge of consent of the groom. Hence, it's the name of the berinai curi, and it usually takes 2 days before the nikah in the evening. Berinai kecil ceremony is held the next evening, involving both the bride and the groom, where the couple undergo the tepung tawar separately, with the groom going first and it is followed by the bride. And the berinai besar ceremony, on the other hand, will be held right after the solemnization, usually at the bride's home. So it is comprised of the tepung tawar, and it included a photography session where there may be changes of outfit among the bride. And to conclude for this part, all three bridal ceremonies are rarely conducted today, where mostly because of the cost and time involved, and it actually start to disappear around the early 2000. So for the last part is bersanding. So on the wedding day, the majority of the bridal couples choose traditional Malay dress such as baju Melayu, songket, and mak andam is often hired to be the bride's makeup artist and consultant for the day. So her task is to make sure that the bride look stunning, and that the traditional tradition like sending the serial like that, which is a backdoor leaf arrangement, are followed. So the groom typically arrives at the bride's house escorted by the kompang or hadrock, the Malay drum band, bunga manggar, palms blossom crafted from the tinsel papers, carriers, friends, and family. So the member of the compound band uh, frequently sing passages from the Quran in order to obtain blessings for the marriage, and the compound band adds a positive aspect to the event, and it generates a joyful environment where the highlight of the wedding is the bersanding, when the bridal couple in their weddings finally sit on the thrones placed on the pelamin, which is known as dias, where they are treated as the king and the queen for the day. So during the ceremony, friends, relatives, and guests offer their blessings and congratulations, and they sprinkle yellow rice and yellow petals. Both items, it is known as a symbol of fertility for the bride couple. So I think that's all from me. Thank you for listening.
My name is Muhammad Iqmal Azim, and I will continue our presentation with the next subtopic, which is Tepat Sireh and Adat Balimau. So for the Tepat Sireh is a symbol in Malay society to propose desire and is often used in marriage ceremonies such as merisik, meminang, and bertunang. So this equipment was very essential in Malay marriage in the past because it was a symbol of life and values in the Malay community. However, the custom is not being practiced regularly in modern Malay marriage, especially in urban areas. So the item that must be inside the tepat sireh is betel leaf, clove, tobacco, lime, cambier, and betelnut. So tepat sireh place in traditional Malay society is intricately bound to the Malay community's culture. Therefore, whether in a small or large event, tepat sireh takes precedence. Tepat sireh is given to the people based on their age and also their status. So tepat sireh is frequently used in Malay custom for occasions such as engagement, marriage, booking midwife to deliver infants, melenggang perut, and also house building. Tepat sireh is used in marriage ceremonies as communication between male and female side as a form of discussion about the marriage that might happen and to agree to certain terms and agreement between both parties. Moreover, tepat sireh represent friendship to get confirmation whether the hantarans accepted or not in a good manner, and it is also a representation of the peace and understanding. Tepat sireh also serve as a symbol of togetherness and harmony, and tepat sireh carries with its harness sincere intentions that cannot be expressed in words. So, tepat sireh is a Malay term that refers to friendliness, warmth, friendship, and its concept is strongly ingrained in Malay society. In addition, tepat sireh demonstrate the Malay community's social modesty in an indirect way. This may be observed in the arrangement and rolling of betel leaf. The tail of the betel leaf should not be issued, indicating that shame and dignity should be respected. Additionally, the procedure of consuming betel in its entirely begins with a ring finger smear of chalk on the back of the betel, and after smearing the vine with lime, the remaining ingredients are added, and this procedure symbolizes orderliness in life. Tepat sireh has its own custom and traditions, all of which are connected to the Malay community system, which emphasize a polite, cautious, unified culture and organized way of life. Indeed, the function of tepat sireh is intrinsically linked to the Malay community's traditions, and the Malay way of life is viewed as having a strong politeness tradition exemplified by Depasiri. Okay, moving on to the next subtopic, which is adat berlimau. So, in the past, there was a highly important ritual performed by the old Malay marriage tradition, which is called as the adat berlimau. So, on the throne, there will be another mating or persandingan after the official persandingan during the wedding ceremony. So, the bride, on the other hand, will not be dressed in a wedding dress, and this ceremony will only involve close family and relative. So, after the brides sits side by side, both of them will sit down on a bench located in the middle of the house, and this is where the ceremony of bathing and sipping, kefir line or limau purut, is done as a symbolic that their marriage has been blessed and protected. So, after the bridegroom was showered and bathed with lime according to the traditions, they will be escorted to the bridal rooms by the bride's mother, and with the husband leading his wife into the room while carrying a white handkerchief. So, meanwhile, on the outside of the room, all the close relatives will splash the remaining lime water to each other while having fun. So, the water that used for this ceremony is provided in various colors to add to its beauty and is considered as sacred to the Malay community. So, additionally, they are not permitted to take the damp towel worn by the bride and groom in accordance with custom and traditions. The wet cloth will be presented to the bride's mother as a gift, and not only are the bride and the groom not permitted to take back their damp cloth, but they are also prohibited from squeezing the cloth themselves. All of this is intended to alleviate fear and to deter reinforcement from the two brides. And the mother of the bride will pick up and store the wet cloth, to assist in removing and keeping the bad luck away. So, prior to the Kaffir lime bath ceremony, there was a custom that was extremely important in the past but has since become obsolete, and the custom is early in the morning following the night of reconciliation, the bride's mother will demand a tangible evidence from the groom regarding his bride's virginity, and according to the tradition, the groom will present a white handkerchief as a proof, and the mothers of the bride will next show the handkerchief to the bride's parents, and most importantly, the groom's parents. So, historically speaking, Malay tradition places more importance on the bride virginity, and the proof of submission is required prior to the lime bath ritual, and is so important that the absence of evidence nearly always causes a conflict and frequently resulting in a quick divorce. So, nonetheless, practically all Malays have abandoned all of these long held traditions, and this is because this practice existed at the time before the growth and spread of strong Islamic preaching, and this practice is also seen as unnecessary because it contradicts with Islamic belief and principles, which highlight and uplift women dignities. So this tradition is also seen as superstitious due to the fact that it establishes a belief in a deity other than Allah. So as a result, this practice has ceased to exist.
For Malays, marriage is largely a social contract, fulfilling obligations and responsibilities to children and close relatives. In Islam, although marriage is not mandatory, marriage and procreation are encouraged and advocated by Muhammad's sage. So, Islam strongly recommends that Muslims marry and have children rather than encourage celibacy. Malay marriage and culture to a large extent inherit the characteristics of Islamic marriage and culture, but also will retain their own traditional culture. In this culture background, husband and wife have different rights and obligations. According to Ibn Omar, the messenger said, "You are guardians, and therefore you are responsible for your word." The chief was a guardian. A man is the guardian of his family and should be responsible to them. A wife is the guardian of her husband's home and children and should be responsible for them. You are guardians and therefore responsible for the heirs under your jurisdiction. From Hadith of Bukhari. Okay, that's all our project. Thank you for your listening.